We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified indie fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Live here in Waco. You're going to see a lot more of this. This is how the podcast was always intended to be, but then the pandemic kind of hit and kind of changed how we did things, but we're getting back to our roots here. So we have a very special guest joining us that was kind of traveling through Waco in a sort of way. We have Emmy Lou. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
Awesome. How was you were working at a camp? How was that?
It was nice. Lots of happy campers, so it was good.
Awesome. Was it a music camp or just kind of
It's a girls' Christian summer camp.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my third year, so we got a third year counselor ring. But it's nice.
Sweet. And it's just like, is this the only time you're there, or are you going back later in the summer?
No, this is the only time I could go because in the summers I teach all year. So summer is kind of my break. I usually go for about 2 weeks, and then when I get back I do gigs and I sell watermelons.
So. Nice. And is that what your family does, is like grow watermelons, or is
it? Me and my sister just started the business I think this is our 6th year. So it's the Sweet Melon Sisters, but she had kids a couple years ago, so it's really just the Sweet Melon Sister now. So it's basically just me.
Fair. So. It's like, wish you had a third sister there, so it's like.
Well, we do, but she's got other things, but she's got kids too, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Are you the youngest out of your?
I am. They are both married and have kids, and I'm just, making it.
Fair. So you're on your way back home. You have a show tomorrow, or is it next weekend?
Let's see. I have a show Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay. I saw one,
yes,
and
sir.
I was in the back of my head, I was like, I would have sworn it said the 14th, but now looking at it, it was like, no, it said like the 17th or 18th or 19th or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I was just like, okay. But how's the life on the playing shows out in East Texas, because that's where you're from originally?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't always get to do it as much as I like because of teaching, but so this summer hopefully getting more gigs. But the venues in Lufkin, I mostly do just local restaurants. I'll do like a bigger venue, like I'm going to Margaritaville with Caleb Blaine in July, so that'll be fun. But mostly the small local gigs are really sweet. The owners are all very encouraging, and they're happy to have you there, so it's nice. Yeah.
The Margaritaville down near Houston in like Conroe, or is
Crystal Beach?
Okay,
yes,
gotcha. I was like, I would have sworn I saw one in like Conroe or something, like an ad for one in like Conroe or something, and I was just like, I don't know.
No,
so,
where all the mosquitoes are.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Oh yeah,
isn't that the truth? Oh, so how's your music been going? I know you released some music earlier this year.
Yes, sir.
Are you obviously you just got done back from camp, but are you focusing on writing? Where's kind of your emphasis right now as far as that goes?
Right now I have one in the studio. It's pretty much done, just waiting for it to get mastered and just kind of giving it a week or two and then re-listening to it, make sure we still like it. But I'm really excited about that one. And then I've got one, it's already ready. We had it ready in December, but I wanted to have it. I think if you upload it like 6 weeks before it's out, you have a chance to be uploaded to a playlist, I think, on Spotify. And I didn't have enough time to upload it, so I was like, no, we're just going to wait till next year and we're really going to promote it because I think it's one of my better songs. But it's a Christmas song. Okay. It's kind of a little fun about a cowboy. So I'm excited about that one. And then there's some other ones I've started, but I haven't finished. There's a lot of that I have finished. They just haven't made it to the studio. So.
Gotcha. And is it haven't finished, or that you have finished but just haven't made it to the studio? Is it because you're just not 100% sure you want to record them, or is it all the funding and stuff like that?
Mostly just time. Because I had, during the school year mostly, I do it on the side, and then the guy that does my songs for me, my producer, he does it on the side as well. So there's like very little time slots for us to get together.
That's fair. It's like when you're both doing it part-time, the only thing you can hope for is that both of your part-times are at the same time.
Exactly. And it's very few, but when it is, it's nice. He's great. So
yeah, fair enough. Awesome. And so kind of looking at that, obviously I'm assuming the goal is to kind of make it a full-time gig at some point, or?
I would like to, I would love like to have a band and do like gigs across Texas and stuff, but I don't even know where to start, and financially teaching is a real job and it can, get me on my feet. So
That's fair. It's one of those hard deliberations and hard questions, because it's like same thing I went through a lot of years with this. It's just like, I want to quit my job and focus on this 100% of the time, but I'd be leaving a lot, at least initially I'd be leaving a lot of money on the table, because it's like, you just don't know. But had I focused all my energy, like, who knows where things would be.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you need that security of a paycheck, because at some point
it's a bargain for sure.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So how long have you been like writing, releasing, taking it seriously, I guess is the best way to ask that.
I think I first started singing at restaurants either last year or the end of the year before. So I just got into it really. I've started writing songs like when I was younger, but I would write them in a binder and just like close it. I wouldn't play it for anyone. Like even my parents, I wouldn't play it around them hardly. And so I think it was a year or two ago, I played one for them because I was like, hey, I wrote this as a joke. I think it's funny. It was either that one or another one. And they were like, wait, we love it. And I was like, okay, well, I have more. And I went and got the binder. And they were like, no, wait, this is crazy. And so I played them all those songs. And like, we got to get in the studio. We got to do something, get it rolling. And so then that's when I did my first gig. And then it's just kind of slowly going on from there. So.
What's been the biggest learning curve for you, just kind of starting out?
Yes, that, and it's a whole lot to take in, when you're first starting out, like what speaker do you, we got a speaker, it's great, but then you hear somebody else's speaker, like the quality is so much better. So, just funding is a lot of it too. Like where to go, different crowds too. You got to have different slow songs, fast songs, stuff like that, I guess.
I mean, you bring up a good point, and this is kind of a quote that I've started living by, especially like when I'm on the idea train of like, oh, I've got all these cool ideas, I don't know where to start, or I don't know, or I don't want to start until it's perfect. But I heard this quote about, in the beginning, make it exist, and then along the way it'll become perfect.
I like that.
And it's like, because how can you make it perfect if it doesn't exist?
Exactly.
Because we started doing a live podcast about this time last year, and we were looking for the perfect situation to do it. And it was like, that perfect situation is never going to come. Right. And so I was out in Nashville, and I reached out to a friend. They're like, yeah, I got a guy that'll let you do it at his bar. I bought a $200 PA system off of Amazon, like a real cheap thing. Like, I mean, we still use parts of it today. So, and it just made it exist. It sounded terrible, but it was there. And now we're like actually looking to buy a real PA system, and it's like, it's not going to be $1,000. Like,
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But we're like building it. And I was talking to my sound engineer, and I was like, obviously the goal is to get a really nice PA system, but what's like a really reasonable step upgrade, And he's like, this right here. And it's like $300-$400 just for the speakers, whereas the PA that we currently have is like everything's included.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's like, well, that's a win right there. So
right. Well, I started off playing my grandpa's guitars. So one guitar I play, it looks like a Gibson Hummingbird. It's red. It's beautiful. It's a pan, I think, from Japan. And it doesn't sound the best, but to me it sounds great, I got a pickup put in it. And then my other grandpa, I never met him, he has a Yamaha. And I actually really love it, the sound of it, like that deep country twang sound. And I put a pickup in it, and that's what I've been playing at gigs. But the quality, I guess, for the bigger venues, I was like, I need something else. So I guess it's probably one of my bigger purchases since I've become like an adult. I got a Gibson Hummingbird. So
like
I think it's a Rosewood Studio Hummingbird, maybe.
Nice.
I couldn't tell you the specifics, but I'm excited. So it's nice.
Did you just get that, or is
I did.
it? Okay.
I think I've had it for maybe 2 weeks, and I've been gone. So I got it right before I left for camp, and I've been gone 2 weeks. Okay. So I got to play it, I think, 1 or 2 gigs before I left, and it's been sitting at home.
Is it feel different when you play it compared to like?
It does. Yeah. It feels expensive. It feels, it's just different because like the neck, everything, there's so many details on it. So I'm excited.
Yeah. But. Well, and I mean, that's the other thing I was talking to my dad about, because we were having this discussion about buying cheap things versus nice things. And I was like, Dad, because he was talking about getting into something like a new hobby or something, and he was like, I could buy this cheap thing, like cheap fishing pole for $80, or I could buy this really nice fishing pole for $1,000 or what, like whatever it was. I was like, here's what you do. You buy that cheap one, and if you use it enough to break it, that you have to buy a new one, then buy the expensive one.
Right.
Or the quality one. I guess saying expensive probably isn't the optimum word, because there could be some expensive stuff that is
right.
not.
Like the Yamaha and that pan. I mean, I'm sure they weren't too expensive compared to what I just bought, but to me, I think they sound great.
Right.
Some other people, like my friends, are like, okay, it sounds good, but you need something with a little bit more, oomph. And I'm like, okay, but I love them. So
hey, that's cool, and you're investing in yourself, and you're moving forward, and it's one of those things as you kind of move forward in your career. Like, obviously, right now you're playing solo acoustic, or are you playing electric?
Acoustic. Well, I just put a pickup in it. So,
okay. So you're playing a solo acoustic, and so the PA system's a little bit easier. You don't need like a big elaborate thing. Exactly. But once you kind of get into those bigger venues, that PA system becomes less of a worry, because if it's a big enough venue, they're going to
have it. It's just plug and play. That's nice.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, as you grow and as you like kind of figure out how you want to do your music, how you want to like present yourself, that's kind of the optimal thing, is like initially put all your money into stuff that you're going to continue to use, and then worry about the extra stuff like the PA system and all that stuff, because at some point you're not going to need the PA system. So hopefully, hopefully, in theory, if everything
might take a long time, but hopefully one day,
Right.
I know some artists, they start off and they don't take. It might take them 15, 20, 25 years to finally get somewhere. Hopefully, it don't take that long.
Fair.
But
I mean, but
you never know.
That's the thing about Texas, and I've talked to every Texas musician about this. Is it's like, when I moved here, or when I moved here in 2019, but prior to that I lived out in New Mexico for 4 years. There were so many musicians that came through New Mexico that were big in Texas, and I had never heard of them.
Wow.
And it was one of those deals where I'd ask the promoter, because I was good friends with one of the promoters of the venues. I was like, hey, who is this guy? Like, I know he's got to be somewhat big, because you booked him in your private club that has like a 300 seat capacity. And like, that's a pretty decent venue, especially in New Mexico. And he's like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. He's been playing in Texas for 20 years. He's got like, all this stuff. And I'm like, and all he does is does the loop around Texas. He's like, yeah, there's this thing called the Texas Loop. And it's
that's crazy.
Yeah. So you're born and raised in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
East Texas.
East Texas. Yeah. I love that you clarify that.
Well, Texas is really big.
Yes.
It's like a whole country. You just go, like, you can go all the way across and you're never there. You're still in Texas.
Yep.
So it's very different, I mean, even East Texas, like, you go up 2 hours north and it's still really different than where you were.
Oh, yeah. Well, because when I first started coming through Texas, I knew the difference between West, Central, and I mean, honestly, Central to me, it's more West Central, the heart of Texas, and then East Texas.
Yeah.
That's me as an outsider looking in, but everybody's like, no, it's Central Texas. And I was like, Central of what? But whatever. But even driving through, like, East Texas, I'd always kind of cut south and go through, like, Beaumont and, that. And I was like, I don't know if I like East Texas, but I'm really in like Southeast Texas. But then you go through like Northeast Texas, and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't the same East Texas.
It's very different.
Very different. So you got like North Texas and then South Texas, but then you've also got to go east and west as well, and it's a whole experience. So,
like, where Sam Rayburn Lake is?
Yeah.
So it's around that area.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I drive past it all the time going up to Chicago. So I know Northeast Texas a little bit better than I do Southeast Texas, because my sister lives up in Indiana, so I have to go that way.
That's neat.
And then my dad lives in Florida. I don't drive to Florida as often as I probably should. So,
well, that's fun.
Yeah.
I like Florida.
It's okay.
It's okay. I've only been a few times though. Yeah. And I only went to the beach, so.
Yeah, if you're going to the the beach communities, it's cool. Like if you're going for the beach communities and the that vibe, it's really nice. There's really nice areas. Once you get into like the bigger city, like if you go to like the beach towns, like if you go to, I don't know, like Daytona's pretty cool. If you go to like, you know, like the beach communities, those are really cool. But once you go into like the big cities of like Miami, Lauderdale, that gets a little sketchy for my liking. Gainesville's a little rough.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Yeah.
So
Orlando's cool if you're into like always wanting something to do. Orlando's cool, but I don't know. Those are just my thoughts and opinions. I'm sure all the Florida people are going to cook me now. So
maybe not.
We'll see what happens. So, so you said when you were younger, you were always just kind of writing music,
let's see. Like, I don't remember what it was. So I grew up going to this really small church, and I would write a song and sing it up for a special. And it was some Christian song, and then I wrote a few more in high school, like Heartbreak, and they're not good. One about my grandpa passing. I think that one's pretty sweet. But, just to myself, like I would write them down, sing them, maybe in the shower, play it on my guitar the best I could. I didn't really get into like singing in front of people until the past few years. So
okay,
yeah.
What was the light switch of?
I think when I when I played that song for my family, and they're like, "Wait, you have more?" And I was like, "Yes, I have a lot more." And they were like, "Wait, we love them all. Like, we really need to get this out." And so that's really what started it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And there was nothing in particular that you were like, "Hey, I want you to listen to." Like, there wasn't anything that kind of triggered that initial moment.
Well, they could always hear me playing like in my room, and they would always beg me, "Come on, just play in here, play for us. We're not going to judge you or anything." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." That and a lot of relationship heartbreaks, so after so many, you have a lot more songs.
Right.
So I had a lot of material to work with.
When you said the first song you ever played for him wasn't like a serious song,
it was either I'm trying to think of which one it was, because it was either Hunting Land, which I have out.
Yep.
I remember I brought that one into the dining room and was like, "Hey, I just wrote this as a joke. I think it's funny, hilarious." I was never going to put it out. Like, I thought that was the one time I was going to sing it for them, was right then and there, and that was it. And they just loved it so much. It was either that one or some other one I had written before that about Heartbreak. But and it might not have been, as serious, because I didn't think I was going to take it anywhere except for the living room, maybe.
And do you think like that like having that guard down of this song isn't that serious, it might be okay to like, "Oh, hey, let's go see if we can make the parents laugh or the family laugh," or whatever? You think that was kind of...
I think so.
Okay. Fair enough. And so then it was from there off to the races, and here we are. Slowly?
I had to kind of step my foot. They would encourage me, like, "Let's get into a studio." I'm like, "I don't know, And still, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure it out, so.
What's been the biggest, like, question? Like, obviously... getting started was a huge hurdle for you, but like looking at your music and where you're at now, like what's currently like the biggest question you have?
Probably where to go from here, because I know that I like singing by myself, but I think, anybody with a band is, it just enhances everything. So if I had like at least like a trio to start off with, and then maybe a band, I think that's my next big thing that I want to hurdle eventually, if I can. I don't know. And
like that's always kind of the appeal for bigger venues is the band, but I feel like a lot of, especially like singer-songwriters, solo acts, they rush so hard to a band that it almost hinders them in a way, because like the one thing you have going for you right now is if, say, in 4 weeks you're like, "Oh, I've got a show in Lafayette, Louisiana," or "I got picked up on a show in Lafayette, Louisiana." Guess whose schedule you have to clear? Just yours.
Not everybody else's.
Yeah. And so, like, especially this early on, like that flexibility is so valuable, and just kind of trying to figure out who you are as a musician, who you want to be as a musician, what kind of music you want, just kind of like figuring out who you are. like just getting those reps in. That's the biggest advice I give a lot of people is it's like the reps are the important thing.
Right.
So
little steps matter.
Yes, they do. So you said that you've got a couple of upcoming shows going into next week, which is great because this podcast will come out on Monday. So
cool.
what shows do you have there? Just
Let's
really
see.
quick.
On Wednesday, I have a duo gig with Logan Tucker out South First Bar and Grill. So we're going to do some duets, some song swapping. And then on Saturday, I'll be at Bandita Creek Hall for a hometown showcase. And me and Logan will be song swapping.
Nice.
And we'll be opening for Caleb Lane. So
nice.
I'm excited.
Nice. And now is you and Logan, are you guys like, do you guys songwrite together, or is this like the first time you're...
really. He's a lot younger than me. I think he's in high school.
Okay.
But he went to the same high school I did, Huntington High School.
Okay.
And so I've heard him around the area. And like I did the Huntington Homestead Festival, the Huntington Catfish Festival. And I would see him at similar events. And I was like, this guy has a great 90s country's voice.
Yeah.
And that's the music I sing. I love old country. That's why I like Zach Top so much.
Yeah.
Cole Goodwin, Mae Estes.
Yeah.
All the old stuff. Emily Ann Roberts, Jake Worthington.
Yeah.
All the old sounds, which I like some of the newer stuff. Hudson Westbrook, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I like the old stuff. And that's what Logan sounds like.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So.
It took me a while to warm up to Jake Worthington's music because when I first started doing the podcast here in Texas and started like ingratiating the Texas country sound, a lot of people were sending me music and I was just like, I don't know, I don't really know if I like this like 90s sound, like, because I didn't grow up on 90s country. I lived in Chicago. Closest thing we had to country was the Dixie Chicks.
Okay.
And Tim McGraw. But honestly, I think Tim McGraw is more of a pop star than he is a country star, but that's just me.
Okay.
But, so those were the only two real country things. And so I didn't grow up on like the 90s country. So when people are like, oh, you got to listen to this or listen to that, and it's like...
That's what I grew up on. And I'm also like a grandma at heart. So I collect spongeware. I have a record collection of all 90s country. Like in my room, it's huge.
I don't know if you clocked the semi-growing record collection sitting behind you, but
I did not.
Yeah, it's
cool.
I got into that. I got into collecting records when I moved here. Like, I mean, I started a little bit when I was living in Florida, but like. It bit me when I'm here and I'm like, now when I do more like indie music, so like when I go out to a show and somebody's like, hey, buy my music, and they got vinyl, it's like, oh, I know this is gonna cost me $50, but
it's expensive.
Yeah.
But also like Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, that old stuff.
Yeah.
I could eat it up.
It's a unique sound and I love it, and like having over the last 3 years of like diving into it and just kind of like growing appreciation for some of the older artists and like getting to listen to like the Charlie Daniels Band or Willie Nelson or just whoever it is, and it's like, dang, I can't believe I've gone almost 40 years not hearing or
have you
30.
heard Rhonda Vincent?
I know who she is. I couldn't name, like, I've seen the name, but I'm not familiar.
So I also love bluegrass.
Okay.
So, because my grandpas both played bluegrass before my time. They used to invite people over every night. They would circle up. Had that. My Mimi played the fiddle.
Nice.
Grandpa's played the guitar. It was, I wish I could be there. But Rhonda Vincent, she's all into bluegrass. They call her the queen of bluegrass. She's amazing. Zach Top was into bluegrass. So I think a lot of like the country that I like stems from like the bluegrass.
Yeah. So when we first started doing Live and Amplified, we'd go down every year to a bluegrass festival in the Florida Keys. And that was kind of our crash course into bluegrass. Like when we first reached out to the festival, we didn't realize that it was like a bluegrass festival. Because my dad was like, oh, there's this festival that happens in January every year. You got to go to it. And I'm like, okay. I call the promoter. He's like, come on down, whatever. And then it's like, oh, this is bluegrass. Jeff's my business partner. Is like, I think we need to listen to bluegrass all the way to Florida. That's driving Roswell, New Mexico to the Florida Keys. And I'm like, we've got about 20 hours to figure out what's what about bluegrass. And so we went there. I think we did that for like 3 or 4 years. cool story. In 2018, right before Billy Strings like really blew up, he was the headliner for the festival.
No way.
And everybody's like, if you're gonna interview anybody, that's the kid you need to interview because he's gonna be the next big thing. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we'll try and get him on. You know, obviously he's busy. He's here for a reason. And we're just sitting there backstage, and we're worried about this rainstorm coming because we see like this rain coming in. And I'm like, we got our gear out, but Billy Strings is sitting right there, like he's doing nothing, like just kind of waiting for somebody to come talk to him. And I'm like, I think we need to go try and do an interview. And then right as I say that, the next band comes on stage, and it's like,
you couldn't hear nothing.
You couldn't hear nothing, and I'm like,
man, that all right, so cool.
Yeah, and so I was just like, okay, well. It is what it is. And then I saw him again 3 months later at a festival in Tampa Bay. And I was just like, I should reach out to him because I think he might remember me because we had a nice little off the record conversation or whatever. But I couldn't get, at that time he had hired like a PR person and all that stuff. He kind of like started to make that transition, and I'm like, oh, I can't break the PR person because they don't care, you know. So
man, missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's life's full of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So kind of looking forward. You said you got a Christmas song kind of sitting in the wake, and is that going to be the next release, or do you think you'll try and get something out before then?
No, that other one, Stepping Stone.
Okay.
So that one, to me, that's not my favorite song that I've written yet. It kind of puts all of my songs that I've written together. So a lot of the guys that I've dated, I'm like the last serious relationship before they get married. So I joke about how I'm like their stepping stone to, you know, that and a lot of other things. But it's really real. Yeah. So, and it kind of has like that 90s country music, in my opinion. Yeah. And so I like it. And then the guy that does my songs, he did harmonies on it. He sounds amazing on it. I'm hoping that one will come out in July. So July or early August, hopefully. So I'm excited.
Nice. Try and get, I'd say probably push it for July just so you can kind of get that summer hit rush. And
yeah.
Now, so you said summertime you're more focused on, you're going to like focus on live shows, right? Or this summer at least?
Let's see. So I always do, you know, like the local venues, but I'm able to do more like Margaritaville, Bonita Creek Hall. Those are a little bit more bigger. So I can do those more in the summer because I can like go away for a weekend. It's harder to take off, you know, during the school year. So
fair enough. And so outside of music, what do you like to get into? I know you'd mentioned you sell watermelons with,
I sell watermelons.
Not with your sister so much anymore because she's got kids and what have you, but
let's see. What do I do? I like to sew.
Okay.
Collect records and antiques. Spend time with the family, going to the lake. I like to hunt and fish. Anything outdoors, really, I guess.
Fair. I mean, it's Texas. I feel like you, growing up in Texas, you're kind of born outside.
Yeah.
Not literally, but I think people know what I'm saying.
Well, when we grew up, you know, we didn't have an iPad in our face. You know, we made mud pies and we worked in the yard all afternoon. You know, you find something to do besides being in front of a screen.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we grew up outside, and I love it. So.
Yeah. It was... We didn't want to be inside. Like, exactly. I grew up in the 90s. It is like... Summertime is like... The only time you were stuck inside was when it was raining out, and... It's just because Mom didn't want the kids running in and out of the house with wet shoes.
Being muddy everywhere.
Yeah. But other than that, it's like playing basketball, hockey, street hockey, football, baseball, you know, whatever it is. And it's just like, yeah, no, I get it. So, well, how big is your vinyl collection? Is it pretty decent, or?
Let's see, I have 2 boxes about like this that are full, and they're running over, so I have about 2 more stacks about this tall to the side.
Nice.
So.
And it's all 90s country, or is there?
Mostly. Mostly.
What's the most unique one? It's a unique record you have?
I don't think I can choose, honestly. I don't know. There's so many.
No, like Beatles' White Album just kind of sitting in the mix?
No. I have a lot of Loretta Lynn, Conway Twitty, George Jones, Merle, Willie, Hank, you know, all the things.
Oh, yeah. I went to we did one of our live podcasts down in Bastrop 2 weeks ago. Right? End of May. Yeah, so 2 weeks ago. And I'd been getting these ads on my Facebook about all these vinyl shops that are in this town called Taylor coming up from Bastrop. And I'm like, I called my buddy Jeff. I was like, hey, man, you want to stop at a vinyl shop on our way back from the gig on Sunday? It's like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm like, okay. And so we walk in, and it's an old school, like, vintage. It's not a flea market, but, like, each, like, booth is owned and owned by one, or, like, a person will put their stuff up in a booth, but you pay all out at the end.
Okay.
Like, you get what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so we walked around this entire thing, and every once in a while we'd find, like, these little bins of vinyl, and I'm like, well, I think this was kind of a wash. Like, I didn't realize this is how it was. And then you get after walking around and sweating and all this stuff, the very last booth was this big vinyl collection. And I'm like, dude, we could have just taken a left and saved 20 minutes of our lives. And he's like, well, it is what it is. So
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
If you're ever in the Lufkin area, though, so, I like to antique shop. So I always like to go to Heritage Antiques.
Okay.
And upstairs, they have a huge vinyl collection. I'm talking, like, all genres, rock, country, jazz, you name it. It's amazing.
Now, is it all, like, original stuff, or is there, like, some newer stuff?
It's mostly old stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything new, but I don't like new. I mean, I did say I didn't like new. I had a Pistol Annie's record I bought not too long ago, but it was brand new, but it didn't work. There was, like, spots in the middle, which I think I've heard about that on Facebook, that multiple people had problems with it. Maybe they got hot or something, or I don't know, but
it is what it is. This place, it looked like a lot of them were new-ish. Like, there was obviously some stuff that was a little bit older, because you could tell around, like, the edges and whatnot, it was, like, frayed and
most of the stuff there was, the cover itself was, like, falling apart.
Oh yeah.
So
we walked in there, and, like, the first thing I noticed, so my dad always had this story. Have you ever heard of the band Foghat?
I have not.
They're a rock band out of England. They wrote the song Slow Ride, Slow Ride, whatever. And so they had this, like, EP that supposedly my dad, it's like the band is sitting in front of an airplane. And the story my dad used to always tell me when he was growing up, he's like, that's my airplane. Like, it was his airplane. Like, he flew it out there. The band used it for the photo shoot, and it was on the album. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's like, and so I was at an antique shop in Tallahassee, Florida, and I found the actual album. And I was like, oh shit, this is my dad's airplane. I was showing my buddy. He's like, oh, that's really cool. And it was like, the album was like $4 or something. And I'm like,
that is really cool, though.
And I show it to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I found the album. He's like, really? Sweet. And he looks at it, he's like, now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if that was actually my plane. And I'm like, damn it, Dad.
He was hoping.
Right? And it's like, I thought you said you flew it out there. He's like, I thought I did, but that was back in the late 70s. So I'm like, Dad, if you're about to tell me the time you took ayahuasca or something, like some weird mind-bending drug, keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear that story. So, it is so funny. That's kind of the vibe, is antiquing, sewing, and just being outside.
Being outside, going to, my relationship with Christ is my most important. So I spend a lot of time, like, church, doing things in that sort. Like, I was at that church camp. I do that. I try to do that every summer, but this is my third summer. Don't think I'll be back next year, just because I do want to have more gigs. I want to be more booked. I actually had a booking agent. We were going to sign a contract. He actually passed away.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, not that long ago. It was really sad.
Wow. Is that a booking agent here in Texas, or?
East Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do love that about Texas, is like, anything that you need here, you don't necessarily have to go to Nashville to go do it. Like, when you think of music, and specifically country music, you think, oh, I got to go to Nashville to be successful. And it's like, if you're in Texas, you don't really have to go anywhere. Like, I know that's kind of the stigma, but Texas,
it does have a lot of options if you start looking.
Yeah.
but where to start is the thing. Like, where do I look?
Right. And so you said the booking agent passed away. Are you contemplating looking for another booking agent, or are you going to kind of just try and do your own thing right now?
Right now I'm doing my own thing, just because, I was in the school year, but now I'm getting out. I'm starting to look at things and think, what can we do this next year, to get started and more busy, more booked.
Fair. And, it's, especially as a solo acoustic singer-songwriter right now, it's really not that hard to book yourself if you're going through like Google and you're willing to drive 3-4 hours.
Right. And just make a phone call. Be like, hey, are you have anybody available?
Yeah.
So it's manageable right now, at least.
The hardest part is the pay aspect. And like even doing our live podcast thing, we've done 5 or 6 of them, and trying to get a venue to throw us a couple of bucks to be like, hey, thanks for coming out, so we could pass it on to our musicians. It's like, but I think for like a solo acoustic thing, it's probably not as bad, because I'm sure they have like a set rate of. I
will say I have heard, like if you go further West Texas than East Texas, that gigs pay at least like $100 more.
Okay.
On average.
Really?
That's what I've heard. Like West Texas, they said pays like, they said, somebody told me it was like around 400.
Interesting.
For most, and like East Texas, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 usually.
Do you think it's the concentration of people that seem to be in East Texas versus West Texas?
Maybe so.
Because I drive through West Texas all the time, and there are not a whole lot of people out in West Texas. Like, I'm sure you've driven through at least once, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And it's like, man, once you get to like past Abilene, there ain't a whole lot out there.
I think it has to be like the tourist attraction places, like New Braunfels, and that's probably not considered west. It's probably like central.
Yeah, it is. But like if you go out to like Lubbock, that. I mean, even New Braunfels, or if you go to New Braunfels or what's the Luckenbach? Yeah, if you go to there, like that, I know they pay pretty good, because like they're known for
live music.
Like that, they have venues like people go to like every Friday night. It's like, oh, I'm gonna hear somebody I never heard before, or
right?
Somebody I want to hear,
something like that.
Yeah, so. And that's the cool thing about just kind of being here in Waco, is it's like I'm sitting here watching San Antonio and Austin just kind of like become one giant second southern metroplex, like the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. And it's like, at some point that's going to come up here to Waco. So I'm just kind of waiting, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all unfolds.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So you're getting ready to head back home tonight, and you said, what, about 3-4 hours left?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's 3, if I don't stop. But okay. I'll drive through for dinner, or stop. I'll probably drive through and stop for gas. So.
Okay. I was going to say, because it's like, gas is obviously, especially driving through the back road, like, I think you're probably done with like the major highways, right?
I hope so. I'm gonna try to avoid them.
Fair. But just kind of doing the back roads, like gas is gonna be your best friend. So yeah, but it is what it is. So I don't want to keep you here too much longer, because I know you said you want to try and get home at a reasonable hour and all that fun stuff. Where can people find you online? Where can they listen to your music? What do you have out currently? All that fun stuff.
Let's see. I think my Instagram is emmy.lou.music or Emmy Lou Music.
Yes.
My Facebook is Emmy Lou, and if you go to the pages, you can see my face with the cowboy hat on there. On Spotify and iTunes, I think I have 3 out. I have Hunting Land, Over Hurriet, and Maple Street came out not too long ago.
Nice.
So I have those on there to find. I think they're on all streaming platforms. So. Nice. Yeah. But I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we finally got a chance to sit down and do this. I know we talked, was it about 3 months ago or something?
Long time. It's been a minute.
It's been a little bit. But I will say this about that. Hunting Land was the song that I first heard.
Really?
That was just kind of like...
I wrote that as a joke. That's the one.
Fair. Fair. Because there was a phase there where it seemed like a lot of country musicians, not necessarily Texas musicians, but there was like a lot of hunting songs that were coming out, and so like that one just kind of like gradually came into my like, oh hey, you like this song, maybe check this song out, and I'm like, oh okay, and then I found you on Instagram, and I was like, hey,
that's cool. That's cool. But actually, so it's funny about that song. When I play it live, it seems I always like play it faster and more. It's a little bit more upbeat, but we went to the studio so many times, like, well, it's a joke, we might not put it out, and then we got so far into it with all the instruments, I'm like, this is too slow, but it was too late financially to go back and make it faster, so I was like, it is what it is. But
honestly, that'd be actually kind of a cool idea. Like, you got the slow version recording, but then you start playing it faster and faster as you go live, but then you go back and re-record it, so you almost like have a self-remix.
Right. That would be good. Eventually.
Do you think it's more of a tempo thing, or is it just kind of like a gut feeling that you're like,
I just think it's easier for people to be like, okay, if it's just a little bit more faster.
Okay.
For that song, at least.
Gotcha.
For it to be more funnier, a little bit more, upbeat, I guess.
A little bit more tongue-in-cheek, maybe. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that was the song that introduced me to you, so when you brought that up, I was like, okay, that's funny that song wasn't supposed to be serious. So
yeah, so this guy had dated me through hunting season, broke up, and then begged me to take him back. I was like, no, and then I did, and then he dated me through hunting season again and broke up with me. I'm like, okay. Was
he just using you for the deer meat, or
right? I mean, we had deer lease had a 30-acre lake that he wanted to hunt really bad for ducks. It had buffleheads, canvasback, mallards, pintails. It even had some geese sometimes. So, and he wanted to come. I had invited him a few times, but he was busy, and I was like, okay, so you just want me from a hunting land.
Right.
And so I was like, this will be funny. My brother-in-law and sister will find it hilarious, and my mom. And they did, so it was good.
That's amazing. That's the one thing I miss about college. So I went to school in Southern Illinois, and that's kind of when I got introduced to like the hunting culture, because that's all they do is like, during Thanksgiving, instead of doing Thanksgiving dinner, they go deer hunting. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what season it was. Yeah, they go deer hunting, and it's like, that's cool. And they'd always bring back like sausages and like backstraps and all that stuff. And I'm like,
backstrap was so good. But that song, we were in the studio, and the producer was like, what's a bufflehead? I was like, I have it on my wall. So everything in that song that I listed, except for a sandhill crane. I haven't got a sandhill crane, but there were some on the deer lease that the guy wanted to come to.
Yeah.
I've either harvested, and we took home and we ate it and stuff, but it wasn't like some random animal. And the producer was like, all of these things. I was like, yeah, all of them.
Is dove big down here, or is?
So at that deer lease, which is in Sweetwater, it's near Abilene. This past year it was actually really sad because it was so dry. The lake dried up. There wasn't hardly any dove. But the past 2 years before that, there were so many. They were everywhere. Okay. So it was great for it.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's because I know where we were at, it was deer and turkey were like the two big.
Yep. The Rio Grandes.
Yeah. And then dove was big, but because dove was so coveted, they rarely ever brought it back to the house at school, because they're like, no, we only shot like 60 dove. That's not enough to, like, I'm gonna save it for the family. Like, the family's gonna eat it, not you guys. Forget you guys. And it's like, oh darn. And then I just remember one year they would go coon hunting, and my buddy's dad would just have a truck bed full of coon hides, and he'd go sell them to the local fur guy, and then he'd come out with like a $2,500 check of fur hides or whatever. And he's like, all right guys, we're going to eat, and it's like, it's on me. And I'm like, where are we going? Oh, we're gonna go to this diner down the road, get whatever you want. Most expensive thing on the menu was like $8, and I'm like, give me 20 of them. No, I'm just kidding. So.
Yeah, my dad used to coon hunt a lot. There's a picture of my dad and mom when they were dating. She's got a coon hat on.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I never got into hunting, but I've always kind of been intrigued by it. Just because, obviously, I was born with CP, so getting around in the woods is like not the easiest thing in the world for me, but everybody tells me, it's like, I mean, if that's your barrier, that's an easy thing to overcome. Like, if you really want to go, we can get you out there. I'm like, All right, we'll have that conversation at some point. So
the meat's definitely worth it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we went elk hunting last year. My first time, I got blessed. You know, it's really hard to come up on an elk. Your first year, it was crazy. But I got an elk, and my brother-in-law got one, and we have 8 on that thing, both of us, because our houses are pretty close together. So my sister and her husband will come over, and we'll eat together. And we've made quesadillas. We've made tortellini with it. Sausage, backstrap, fried steak, regular steak with it. You know, there's just like that's all we've ate all year, pretty much.
Nice. I remember when I moved out from school, like I was the last one to leave, and I was cleaning out the fridge and freezer one day, and I found 2 sacks of backstraps just sitting deep in the deep freeze. And I called my buddy Alex. I was like, "Hey, do you know that there's 2 pounds of backstraps just kind of sitting here?" And he's like, "Oh shit, well, congratulations, you win." And I'm like, "What do I win?" And he's like, "You win the meat." And I'm like, "Cool." And I was like, "Do you remember, is this year, like how long has this stuff been sitting in here?" And he's like, "Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least 2 years old, because if it was sitting that deep in the deep freeze, it just got lost." And so I took it down to Florida, made it for my mom and dad, and it's like,
I bet it was still good.
oh, it was very good. It was very good. One of the neighbors for my parents down there, he came over because he smelt it. And he was like, "You guys eating deer?" And I'm like, "Yeah. You want some?" He's like, "Yeah." "How'd you cook it?" Because he was a chef. And I was like, "I just threw it on the grill. I put it on some, marinated it in this Dale's, I think it was. I marinated it in this and then just burned it." And he's like, "Well, you need to keep cooking deer because this is cooked perfectly, and deer is not easy to cook." And I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of figured it's cooked.
Have you ever fried it?
No.
So we will take it, and have you ever made fried squash?
No.
So we do fried squash. I've done it with flour and then also with cornmeal. But if you do it like you do the flour and the squash, you just do it the same way. So you'll marinate it, and then you'll dip it in the milk and the egg, maybe little Tony's if you're doing squash, but I wouldn't do it with the meat. And then you just dip it in the flour, cover it, and then fry it. So good.
Nice.
Game changer. So you'll have to try it sometime.
So is it almost does it almost work kind of like chicken fried steak? The same
very
basic
similar.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
It's really good.
I got into chicken fried steak last year, and I'm a connoisseur of that stuff. Anytime I go somewhere and it's like, "Oh, we got chicken fried steak," which is damn near every restaurant here in Texas.
Right, exactly.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
But it's practically all I eat now. It's almost bad. Almost bad.
I like it. I do like chicken fried chicken though.
Okay.
But I'll bring that deer steak to work, and my coworkers are like, "You got any extra?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did. I brought some extra."
It's and then my uncle's big into beef jerky. That's his thing. Every year for Christmas, he gives everybody a big old sack of beef jerky, and I'll bring it to work, and it won't last a day because everybody's it's almost become a tradition now where everybody's like, "Oh, Tom came back from his uncle's house. He's gonna have beef jerky with him." So they're waiting on December 26th or whatever it is, waiting for the beef jerky.
Goodness.
And I'm like, I'm gonna stop bringing it because, or I'm gonna just eat it in the car on the way because it's
or hide it.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's I don't get a whole lot because technically he's not my uncle. He's step uncle, whatever you want to call it. And so he gives all his kids the big portion, and I get a smaller portion, which is fine with me because I'll sit there all Christmas Eve. He's got a big old bucket of it, and he's like, "Here, just eat this stuff. Don't eat the stuff I gave you. Just eat this stuff." And I'm like, "All right." So
I love some good beef jerky.
Yeah.
I like Woody's, and Bucky's got some good pepper beef jerky.
Okay. I see. The only thing that turns me off about the Bucky's beef jerky is it's always so expensive, or at least I feel like it's expensive.
Oh, it's everything. Yeah. Even Woody's too. I got some buffalo beef jerky from there. I was like, "Whew." It was pretty penny.
Yeah.
But also it was suctioned, and so it didn't look that big.
Yeah.
And then once I opened it, it was this huge bag. I was like, okay, that's probably why.
That's fair. Yeah. The only time I go to Bucky's anymore is when somebody that isn't living in Texas is in town, it's like, okay, let's go
take you to Buc-ee's.
Let's go take you to Buc-ee's
Yes.
and we'll pay $14 for a barbecue sandwich that's mid at best. Like, hate to say it, it's a good barbecue sandwich. Don't get me wrong, but it's not worth.
I've never had it. I just go in there for the beef jerky, usually in a Dr. Pepper, and that's it. So.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing about Texas. I forget is everybody's addicted to Dr. Pepper down here.
That's me. It's actually really bad. So I try to cut it down to like a weekend. It's really bad. Like, I love Dr. Pepper. There's nothing more in this world I think that I love than Dr. Pepper.
I'm surprised you didn't try and come here earlier and go to the Dr. Pepper Museum.
The what?
There's a Dr. Pepper Museum
In Waco?
Yeah, that's Waco's where it was invented.
Oh my goodness! I wonder if it's open when I leave here. I'll have to swing by.
Yeah, it's once you get to the end, they make Dr. Pepper the old fashioned, like how they from a soda fountain.
Okay, that's where I'm going after here.
Okay.
Okay.
Have fun. It's a good time. Like it's I walked through there, and honestly, going through the museum part is cool, but just go to the end and walk into the thing and just buy a Dr. Pepper the old fashioned way.
I'm so excited, actually.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's I wish I could tell you what street it was on. It's not far from here.
I have to use my maps anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, fair enough. But once again, I really appreciate it. Sorry, I just made you later to getting back on.
No, you're good. I'm excited now. So thank you.
Honestly, I didn't realize. I thought you probably would have known that Dr. Pepper was.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. And then if you really want to go on the wild side, if you ever back out this way, go out to Dublin.
Okay.
There's this thing called Dublin Dr. Pepper. Because before Dr. Pepper was bought by like Keurig, like became a big conglomerate, Dublin had a Dr. Pepper recipe.
Really? Interesting.
I don't know why I'm pointing this way. Dublin's that way. I'm just pointing in a random direction. It's like, no, Dublin's that way. But yeah, supposedly in Dublin, there's a few places that still sell it, and it's like better than Dr. Pepper.
I don't know.
But
I'll
yeah.
have to try it one day and see. Because I mean, like, I get Dr. Pepper everywhere. Like, I know if you go to Lufkin, Cane's and Chick-fil-A and Casa Morales' hidden gem of Mexican food, best Dr. Peppers in town. But if you go to like Nacogdoches,
wait,
their Dr. Pepper's different.
pause. How is there places that have better Dr. Pepper than other?
They taste different. I don't know. It's got more syrup in it or something. Okay. Especially if you go to Casa Morales' in Lufkin.
Okay.
Angel will fix you up. He'll get you a good to-go cup when you go in there.
Okay.
Full of Dr. Pepper. And it's so good. So good.
Okay. Because I know here in Waco, like, I don't think I've been to like a regular restaurant that doesn't have Dr. Pepper. Like, it's whatever their deal is, whether it's Coke, Pepsi, whatever it is, but they have Dr. Pepper. It does
places that don't really bother me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Or like they're out of order.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, I guess I'll have to drink something else.
Fair enough.
Or nothing.
Fair enough. Because that was so funny story about that. When I got the job offer to move here, I was in line at KFC, and I was getting lunch or whatever, and I was on the phone with the HR person. They hand me my food, and I take a drink of my drink, and I ordered a Pepsi. Yeah, Pepsi is what they do, and I took a drink of it. I was like, this is Dr. Pepper. What the heck? I'm not a big Dr. Pepper drinker. You know, I'm not going to admit.
You either are or you aren't. It's okay.
And the HR lady is like, oh, well, I don't know. Is this job right for you? You know, Waco's the home of Dr. Pepper. And I'm like, oh, dear. And she's like, you got the job, but I don't know. Do you want it now? And I'm like, yes, I want it.
That's funny.
But so, go ahead and plug your socials one more time. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's Emmy Lou Music. So on Instagram, it should be like emmy.lou.music or emmylou.music, and then Emmy Lou on Facebook. So.
Awesome.
And TikTok, I think it's very similar. So.
Yeah. I think you're right on par there, because I know there's a couple of different Emmy Lou musicians out there. So
there are, and you know, I started off, I was like, do I use my last name or not? But I really didn't want to, because I was like,
because then you're gonna have people finding you on Facebook.
And because I am a teacher, I don't like to say where my school is, and it's very hard line. I'm very blessed with my school district. The superintendent will like share the videos and like help promote it. I'm like, okay, it's very, I think, rare that they support that, and so I like it. You know, I don't want there to be any like interference, so I try to keep it separate. So
fair enough. So are you like the cool teacher?
Okay, so I don't tell my kids about my songs, but because it's such a small community, it's even smaller than where I live. It's about 20 minutes from where I live. all the parents know, and so they're all invested. And their kids will come to school and be like, Miss Howard, I heard your song on the radio this morning. We were listening to, not the radio, but to them it's the radio. Their parents would play it, and they love it. So it's cool.
That's funny. That's amazing.
Little fans.
I've heard that story before a couple different times, where especially females that are teachers, they lead like that double light. Not saying that you're leading, but they don't like broadcast that they're a musician. I was talking to somebody in Chicago, and they're like, yeah, I've seen my students at my shows, and because I present differently at school than I do here, they have no idea it's me. And I'm like, I'm looking at her, I'm like, you kind of have a very distinct look. Not saying that like that in a bad way or anything, but you kind of stand out. How do they not know it's you? And it's like, well, when I'm at school, I wear my hair up and with glasses, and you'd be surprised what hair down, no glasses, how different it looks. And I'm like, okay, I got you. Fair enough. Yeah. So, but once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to come out. It's fun.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.